Hello and welcome to Share Talk. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined today by Andrew Pearson, who is the CEO of Lightwave RF. How are you today, Andrew?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Now, Lightwave RF have had quite a few announcements over the past couple of months. If you'd be so kind, can you just talk us through the couple of announcements?
Yeah, there's two announcements that are primarily to do with our relationship and our work with Apple. That's actually a process that started some time ago now, almost 2 years ago. We began an effort to create a new set of technologies along the lines of our first generation of technologies and work with Apple to ensure that they were HomeKit compatible and then obviously bring them to market in due course. So in July we announced that our core product, Link Plus, which is the second generation version of our original product, very successful product called Link, which connects to a Wi-Fi router and then allows you to control, moderate all of the devices for heating, lighting, power and security that we also supply to our customers. That is now Apple HomeKit certified, which really means in English that you can use the Apple Home app, which is a very simple, straightforward app that everybody is familiar with. It's on everybody's iPhone by default to drive not only Lightwave's devices, but any devices. And that's the core attraction for all of us in this space, really, is to allow our consumers, our customers, to easily drive anything that they may wish to build into their smart home solution. So that was the first announcement, which was early July. And then just recently, middle of August, so a week or so ago, we announced the launch date for our second generation of technologies and devices, which is October the 3rd. And also very pleased to announce that those devices and Link Plus will be on sale not only on Apple's online store, but also in Apple's retail physical stores here in the United Kingdom, but also in the UAE, because they have the same voltage and plug socket designs as we do here in this country. But really this is about the UK market, which is our core market. And so our customers will be able to go into any Apple store in this country and talk about our products to their extremely well-trained retail staff, learn about them and purchase them very easily and take them home. They'll also be available through Amazon and through all the other outlets that we have, a number of other retail stores too. But I think the fact that Apple has put us in store is very significant. If you go in store, there are very few smart home devices for sale, and they're all from very large, well-known companies. And so the fact that a relatively small, up-and-coming UK-based company has been able to get their devices in the Apple stores, I think is a testament to our approach and our technology.
Well, first off, congratulations on that. That's great news, certainly for the company. And as you mentioned, you operate in the UK. Now, obviously, getting into Apple stores and being available online. The first question from one of our viewers or investors is: if the company was suddenly to have multiple orders, what is your capacity to actually scale up production to fulfill that demand?
Yeah, so we have a dual sourcing approach to the manufactured devices. It's done both in the Far East and in Eastern Europe. And so we're able to balance demand that's placed upon us using that flexible approach. So obviously one is far shore, if you will, or one is near shore. We can obviously use air freight if we need to. But really what this is all about is actually managing the process, by which I mean looking very carefully at the sell-through rates. We believe there'll be significant hit on the first day. You can see from our Twitter feed and Facebook and so on that there's a number of our fans, people who really like our technology, has been waiting for this and will clearly just go out and purchase it. That'll settle down after a number of days, and then we'll look at the sell-through rate. In this day and age, you can get that data both from Apple via their logistics partners and obviously via Amazon directly, and also some of our other retail partners. You can get that data almost in real time now. So we'll look at the sell-through rates, and then we'll be able to manufacture accordingly and balance the logistics behind that to be able to fulfill demand. I don't think demand will literally explode because it's not that kind of a product. The price points are in the tens of pounds. Link itself is over £100, £129 will be the price of that product once we announce that that it's we're taking orders for it, which is soon. And really that's not the kind of purchase that will literally explode in a day. So watching the sell-through rates for those kinds of price products in the first few weeks will allow us to manage the process accordingly and scale up.
And how have you managed to get into bed with Apple? You've already mentioned a lot of major partners and other products that they have in their stores. How has Lightwave RF manage to do this and accomplish this?
I think that's a great question. I think part of the process was before I was appointed CEO of the company, but obviously I'm aware of the history. We met with them around about 2 years ago and had a fairly lengthy set of discussions with some relatively senior executives about the way smart home technology should work. And through those relationships that we built as part of those conversations, I think we developed really good connections with the technical side of the business, both in Cupertino and also in Ireland, which is their regional centre of technology for Europe, certainly for smart home. A good example of that would be they actually changed one or two of the specification elements of the HomeKit certification process based on not only what we wanted to do, but on the science, the core science and technology, and the discussions we had with them to show them that some of the approaches that we had were good for the market. So the fact that kind of dialogue took place and they ultimately altered their specifications not only to accommodate us, but actually to realize that we were onto something interesting, is a sign, I think, of how seriously we were taken. And from then, we just built a relationship over time, initially technology-based. There's an awful lot of testing that goes on. The bar is high to get Apple HomeKit certification. It doesn't happen to every smart home vendor that you see out there.
Imagine, yeah.
So a lot of backwards and forwards testing of technologies, core ideas, products themselves, devices ultimately, once we manufactured prototypes, was done both in Ireland and in Cupertino. Various visits began to take place at a more senior level, including myself. I went out to Cupertino, to HQ, to meet their global smart home buying team. They also have a team in London here, in their office here. We met with those people regularly, and ultimately that led to an order, which was the trigger for the announcement on the 14th of August.
So you mentioned the product being available in the UK and the UAE because of the similar voltage. Would you look to expand into other countries?
Yeah, so another great question. Apple would wish us to do so. First things first, we need to get the UK launch underway, executed well, get the products out there, get them used, hopefully get some great reviews on Amazon and the other review sites, and then we'll look to really satisfy what they've asked us to do, which is to design European versions, obviously slightly different, from the point of view of the core voltage requirements, they're different. The core technology is very similar, but you have to manufacture different versions. The shape of the plug socket, of course, for the power devices is different. We have to do that. We can look to launch with them, hopefully if they place orders once we've done that work, subsequently. So it's not years away, but it's not simultaneously with this launch. So we're looking at moving into international markets, during next year, should we decide that's what we want to do. But right now, the focus really is on, successful launch of this second generation of our technology here in the UK.
Super. And you already mentioned getting the feedback from Apple and the logistics on first orders. When do you expect to release those details to the market?
Yes, so I think early September, so 5th, 6th of September, we've got some announcements planned. There's a great deal of content to create to guide our current customers as to how they upgrade, how they mix and match, second generation and first generation. Second generation, has a lot of key capabilities that aren't there in the first generation. But the first generation is still a very valid set of devices, and you can mix together the two generations. We'll continue selling and supporting our first generation devices for quite some time. The initial devices, are in the lighting and power area. So, we'll be modernizing some of our other devices as well and making those Apple HomeKit compatible over the period ahead too. So there'll be a gradual process of releasing more and more second generation products, but we'll maintain and support the first generation too. It's a little like iPhones themselves. You can still buy an iPhone 5, right? And number 8 is supposedly coming out pretty soon, if the rumors are to be believed. So, and that's going to be the same approach with us. Many long-standing customers, and we're very loyal to them, and they are to us. So we'll continue to support them, and as Apple do themselves for their products for many years.
And a question here about technology sharing partnerships. So how will Lightwave integrate with things like, for example, response alarms and ERA smart windows?
Yeah, so there's a lot of work going on in that area in the past, and we have some plans for the future too. Specifically, we focus a lot on voice control-based integration to allow Alexa, Google Assistant, and obviously Siri, control of our devices and our smart home solutions. We've begun to open up through APIs and the normal cloud-based software integration that you see is common in this day and age. Our technology platform to other providers. One of those is ERA and the alarms that they produce and various other devices as well. Our general approach is to create a smart home solution for heating, lighting, power, and security, but also to partner with other organizations so that people can interoperate the systems with each other and drive. I'll give you a great example. You might want to set your alarm so that if it goes off, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, the lights come on and off. Our technology can drive that. Their technology is an alarm, and that's a good thing for a consumer. So that's a really practical, real-world example of why you would do these kinds of integrations. So we'll be bringing some integrations to market for those alarms from ERA under the Response Electronics banner, and there's other things planned as well with other manufacturers in both heating and security and lighting and power. So I think really the future of the industry is, from a consumer perspective, based upon us all working together and talking to each other in a technical sense to make it simpler for our customers to build a smart home. And really that's what the Apple relationship is about too. They have one app which controls lots of different manufacturers' devices, and that's what consumers want. And we're happy to integrate with that and take the advantage of their big customer base, obviously. But really, it's all about ease of use for customers, because that's what's going to drive a wider adoption from what really is just an early adopter market currently. This is not yet a mass market opportunity. I think we'll look back in 10 years' time and people will wonder why you have dumb sockets on your wall that don't connect to the internet. What's that? Kids will say, "What is that thing? It hasn't got a light on and doesn't work. Unless I point at it, with my finger and touch it. That's kind of odd." 10 years' time, that's what will happen in homes. But between now and then, we have to make the market along with other vendors. We're in the early adopter phase right now, but we're preparing for what we believe will be a mass market and to be able to create a big company around that in the next 5 years.
And you already mentioned security. So at this stage, are any large insurance companies looking at the security element, but also electricity and water? For example, water leaks. Is there potential there for a large insurance company to come knocking on your door and partnership with you, or
yes,
or more?
We have actually a trial going on right now with a well-known, brand name, recognizable insurance company. I'm not able to share who it is. It's a confidential trial at this time, and really it's all around prevention of water leaks, which is the single biggest cost to certainly the home insurance industry. I don't know the exact statistics, but it's significantly more than 50% of all of their payouts are to do with water leaks, and it's really to do with the practicalities around water leaks. So, for example, what happens when one occurs and you're not there? How can you prevent the damage? Well, one thing you could do is somehow sense that it's happening and somehow shut off the water. No one can come instantly, then the damage is going to be significant quickly. So we've got some trials going on there. The insurance industry in general, I think, will embrace this technology. The utility industries in general will embrace this kind of technology. But these are very large organizations, and we're a very small company, and they're waiting to see which company or companies will become the major players in smart home devices and technology, and then I think we'll come together. So we had lots of conversations with all of the major utility players that you can imagine, and some of those conversations are ongoing. But again, it's an early adopter market. But I think over the next 2 years, you'll begin to see one or two of the companies in the utility sector make some more significant moves. SSE have announced that they're intending to do so, next year and the year after, and I'm sure they won't be the only one.
Understood. And one question from a well-known market commentator, TW, has been blogging that he expects a placing to be coming for Lightwave. Can you confirm or deny these rumours?
No, we're not working on a fundraising as I sit here today. We may or may not decide to do a fundraising in the period ahead, but as I said right now, we have no specific plans to do so. I think that commentator often speculates that about small companies that release some interesting news that could generate a lot of demand, and the obvious speculation is, well, perhaps they'll need some money to scale up, and indeed that was probably one of the elements of your earlier question around can you cope with the demand. So we'll see. As I say, like any board would do, it's a topic under constant review, but we're not fundraising right now.
Understood. Which leads me on to one of the final questions. how well funded is the company currently to date? I think you've already answered that, but if you can...
Yeah, so we're funded to achieve what it is that we've set out for ourselves in the immediate period ahead here, including the launch and the period beyond. As I said, what we do beyond that will be the topic of board level discussions in the months ahead, and that's business as usual for any company, I think. So we have what we need for now, and being a manufacturing physical hardware business, we also have access to working capital type of funding. We've made announcements around that in the past as well, so people are very aware of that. So that allows you some flexibility, even if you're a relatively small organization, because you can secure finance on the basis of your physical goods. So we have that to work with as well, and so far so good. But as I say, it's a topic that's always under review, and so it should be.
Understood. And obviously, a very busy 6 months, been reflected in the share price as well. I mean, we've seen it almost double year to date. What can investors and viewers expect from Lightwave RF over the next 6 months?
Well, we're working on a great deal of things. I've mentioned a few of them in principle today, but there are many others I haven't mentioned. Like any company which is relatively small in a very large market, there's a lot of opportunity. We have to take some good decisions about which opportunities we choose. I think Apple was a good decision. Self-evidently, there are others that we're contemplating investing in and working towards over the period ahead, and we won't do all of them. That's just good governance from the point of view of making sure you focus the organization. But I think the key thing for an investor to keep in mind is really the structure, if you will, of the market. As I said earlier, it is an early adopter market. The people who are our customers are technical enthusiasts today. We have 30,000 customers. The number of people who have any kind of smart device, there's various reports that suggest different numbers, but it's in the hundreds of thousands, or the very low millions, 1 million, or certainly less than 2 million people in this country have any kind of smart home capability in their homes today. Controlled, if you will, homes. So that's not the rental sector. 16 million homes in this country. So we really are at the very beginning of, I think is what I call a slow revolution. As I said earlier, 10 years' time, everybody will have lots of smart home devices everywhere in their home. Today, the vast majority of people don't have any. So really, from an investor perspective, it's all about a small company, with a good technology, with some interesting momentum, related to Apple, of course, recently. Some more plans for similar types of momentum in the future in a very large market.
Well, on that note, Andrew Pearson, CEO of Lightwave RF, thank you very much for joining us on Share Talk today.
Thank you, Matt.